Yes. At that point, Greg, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're not employees no more. They're almost like entrepreneurs. They come into work hungry. They know that if they follow the plan, they're gonna hit their goals and targets. I believe it changes the entire dynamic
It
of
does.
the situation.
That's a good point, Glenn, because they do become entrepreneurs themselves. They're building up themselves as their business on that one.
The only podcast that it will help you grow personally, professionally, and financially. Welcome, good morning, good afternoon, maybe even good evening. By the time you listen to the podcast, welcome to the Growth Talk with Glenn, where we explore the journey of remarkable individuals who have mastered the art of personal and professional growth. Today we have a very special guest, Gregory. Is it more?
Yes, sir.
Let's go. I didn't want to show off your last name. Gregory is a visionary entrepreneur and a Wall Street Journal best-selling author and founder and CEO of Franchise Maven. His inspiring journey from a microelectric circuit engineer to a leader in the franchising industry is nothing short of extraordinary. Greg, welcome to the show.
Glenn, thank you for having me today, sir. It's an honor.
Thank you for your time, knowledge, and expertise. I know that we're going to be talking about some amazing things, Gregory, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Glenn.
If you don't mind me asking, go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you? What is that you do? And who do you help?
Thank you for that, Glenn. I help aspiring entrepreneurs and seasoned entrepreneurs get into the world of franchising. I make it a lot less confusing for people. I make it a nice streamlined step-by-step process to go through. There are many different franchises out there to choose from, 5,000 plus. So I make it a much more simpler to determine which franchise is best for you, or, even if franchising is best for you in the first place, through a series of education and questions and showing you how to go through and going through the process of investigating franchises with you and helping you find the 1-2 franchises that are a good fit for what you are looking to accomplish.
Wow, that's amazing. You mentioned there's about 5,000 franchises available for purchase.
That's correct. So it's quite a daunting process. Yeah, it was a daunting process for me when I first started because I didn't know franchise consultants existed out there. And I certainly didn't know that they were free. I mean, the franchisors pay us a referral fee if you decide to invest in one of the franchises we introduce you to. So I didn't know that services were free. And it was just, I went click happy out there, probably like most people, just clicking on different franchises, trying to determine which one was right for me. Ended up with about 20 different people calling me up and telling me all about their franchises. Well, when I get a hold of that franchise consultant, he made it just simple, step-by-step process, just like I do. Walks it through it. Where have you been? Where are you at? Where do you want to be? Some likes, some dislikes. It's good to know what kind of a background that you bring to it. So what do you bring to the table? What are you looking for a franchise to do for you? So very good streamlined process, but it is a challenge when you've got 5,000 to choose from to determine which one is a good fit for you.
That is impressive. I mean, out of the 5,000, with your experience, Greg, let's say I want to go into restaurant business, just to give you an example, right? How can you cherry pick the ones like from the 5,000? Like, what's the percentage that you're like, okay, out of this 5,000, let's say 5% is good, and then we got to review them. What would that look like?
That's going to be a review, Glenn, of the culture and the background of the people that are running that franchise. And it's also one of the determinations are going to be how much experience or how many franchises do you want that franchise to have out there? So do you want more of an emerging brand that you can help them grow? So, 20, 50 franchisees. Do you want something that's a little bit more established, maybe 100 or more franchisees? And that's got to be a good cultural fit. What's their culture within it? What are their goals? What do they look like? So that you can, so it can be a good matchup for your personality, as well as your investment level as well. Investment level being time, investment level being money on that. So you really got to know if that's the kind of culture I want to be involved in. Where is that franchise going in the next 5 to 10 years? What's their vision for the future? And then what is their past experience at making certain that franchise as a whole is going to be a successful franchise?
Very interesting. A lot of people think that just buying businesses is easy, but there is multiple steps. Like you just mentioned, a few steps they're quite vital when you got to make these decisions when you're buying businesses. Gregory or Greg, your journey from an engineer to a successful franchise owner and author is inspiring, right? So can you tell us more about what motivated you to transition from engineering to franchising?
Well, it started back, Glenn, back in the days when I was in high school and I got a job at a fast food place, which a lot of us did back then when we were in high school. I just happened to pick Taco Bell on that one, just probably because they were hiring at the time. So I moved up in the Taco Bell world really quickly and started managing restaurants. And then I come to find out that Kathy, who owned that restaurant in Woodland, California, where I started, also owned 50 other franchises, or 50 other Taco Bell franchises. She was a master franchisor. So I worked hand in hand with her, working with her to build up her restaurants around the Sacramento, California area when I was growing up there. So she was a great mentor, showed me how to develop and build people. But fast forward now 30 years later, it was always in the back of my head that franchise thing was really great because you could step into any one you wanted to. The systems and processes that were in place were just astronomical. They're just great to do. And I got a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and physics, did the microelectronic circuit engineering thing for a while. Then I went to get my master's degree in business, which I got. But while I was doing that, I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And then that just sparked me that flame back in there that said, that franchising thing was pretty cool. I want to own my own business, which actually a friend of mine, another engineer of mine, we bought dry cleaners, we bought storage units, and then I had some rental properties. So I was already doing private businesses that we purchased on the side. But I decided that after Robert Kiyosaki's book, it's like, I got to make this full time. I can't be doing this engineering.
Yeah, you can't do it part time.
The part time for some absentee thing. It's like way too many hours altogether. I just want to just go straight into it and get back into that franchising world. Franchising is a lot easier than, for me anyway, than running that private dry cleaning business, which was just, I didn't know a thing about dry cleaning. It's like, where do you go to get all this stuff and how do you get it done? So the franchising thing, great team behind me to do it. I knew I had to get into that. So it was really Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that just got me into just thinking, let's go get that franchise now.
That's amazing. From a book. So from Taco Bell as an employee, your dedication and commitment moved up within the company. You were mentored by a lady, right? That had about 50 franchises, all of them Taco Bell?
All of them Taco Bells, yep.
Wow, that's amazing. So you were learning a lot from her operations, even though the Taco Bell already has a process in place, but managing, right? Because it's privately managed, all those 50 franchises, that's a lot of systems, process, knowledge, expertise behind that one individual lady.
That's correct. Then Kathy had a great system in place where she was an entrepreneur herself, obviously getting those, but she actually didn't work all that much because she just worked on the business. She didn't work in the business itself. So she had other people like me that would work in the business and on the individual businesses to build them up. So I really liked what she had built up for herself. And I said, one day I've got to do that. And now I am.
Wow. So would it be fair to say that Kathy was one of your mentors within the journey?
Yes, she was definitely, though. The first one, when I was 16, I met her at the time. And from the next 4 or 5 years that I was working at Taco Bell, she was just instrumental in setting my future in franchising. So
that being said, for anybody out there, whether they're business owners, employees, entrepreneurs, how important is to have that mentor within that journey?
Glenn, it's really, it'll do wonders for you if you can find a mentor. But really hang around with 5 people that are smarter than you, because you're about the average of the 5 the smartest people you hang around with on that. So always get together with whoever is doing what you want to do, hang out with them. But if you can get an individual mentor that can help you along, that is just a way to really grow whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to build up that much more.
Greg, within your journey, you mentioned that treating employees with respect is a cornerstone of your business philosophy, right?
That is correct.
How did that insight shape your approach to managing and turning around distressed businesses?
That's one thing that Kathy and I worked on together, is that some of our restaurants were struggling a little bit. So we worked out a plan that, how do we get this done to where we can build up the sales and just build up employee morale. So I got in there and I worked with the employees, find out what kind of issues they're having. Generally, you have meetings with them on a regular basis and really get to know them on a little more personal level, keeping it still, business-like, but getting to know what they're looking to do and what they're looking to accomplish in their lives, and really helping them from a business point. You couldn't help necessarily with their personal life. Didn't want to get involved with that, but from a business level, how could you help them build themselves up so then their personal life could get better as well? So I worked real closely with all the employees. For those who wanted to move up in the world, I set out a certain plan. Here are the steps to take for you to move up, to become, to go into management if that's what you'd like to do, and develop a personal development plan for each of them. So that's just, it was really instrumental in getting making the employees happy. And if you make the employees happy, then it reflects the clients that come in. They see a very upbeat, happy environment. You get more clients that way, more repeat customers. And all in all, it's just completely a win-win situation.
I love that. How much, once you put those systems in place, Greg, because without the employees, you can't really run a business, right? So now when you are identifying what is that they want personally, professionally, financially, and almost like building a blueprint for each of one of them, right? So they can grow. How much more success you saw in that process? Like when you started implementing that, what was the turnaround?
Well, I kept the employees around for a whole lot longer than that because they really enjoyed having that the step-by-step process. So if you want to make more money, this is what you got to do. This is how you got to improve yourself. And it really goes on to any aspect in business as well. I do the same thing now, although I don't have employees. I have people that do things that I don't particularly care to do. As an entrepreneur, for those of you entrepreneurs out there, some things you like doing, stick with that. Some things you don't like doing, find somebody for it. There's always going to be somebody that loves doing what you don't love doing. Yep. But do the same thing with them. Just have the step-by-step processes that you want them to go through to get what you want accomplished. Treat them with respect and gratitude on that. That just, in all aspects of life, that really makes things better because people feel better about you. They feel better about themselves. And it just makes for a much more positive environment.
Yes. At that point, Greg, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're not employees no more. They're almost like entrepreneurs. They come into work hungry. They know that if they follow the plan, they're gonna hit their goals and targets. I believe it changes the entire dynamic of the situation.
That's a good point, Glenn, because they do become entrepreneurs themselves. They're building up themselves as their business on that one. So you turn them into actual just mini entrepreneurs in your organization.
Yes.
Good way to put it, Glenn.
I love it. I see it all the time in my practice as a consultant. When I go into businesses, we call something that is called PPF goals, which is your employees' personal, professionally, financial goals, in order to find out what they want. Like there's so many business owners, they never ask their employees, hey, what is that you want? December 31st, 2024. Where do you want to be? And now you can build a plan. And it's pretty similar about what you talked about that you did successfully. That's amazing. When it comes to your books, Greg's, you have Real Freedom and you have Expert Resilience. Is that correct?
Expert Resilience, yes, Glenn.
Resilience, yeah. So in those books, you delve into the benefit of franchising and getting the entrepreneurial mindset. What key message do you hope readers take away from these books?
Well, from my franchising book, I wrote that because I get a lot of the same questions over and over again from the people I worked with over the last 10, 12 years. So I really wanted to put it in a book format and get those questions answered on that with some real world examples of the people that I work with. So it's really a step-by-step process, what to go through to investigate a franchise and what to look for on that. So what I really wanted to accomplish was just getting people a good idea what franchising was all about so they could kind of determine up front whether or not that's the path they really wanted to take or not, as the case may be on that. And as far as Expert Resilience goes, I co-authored that with a few other people, and we go into what it is to be an entrepreneur, what the mindset is, how you got to do it, what to look for, and how to set yourself up for success on that one. So really with the books, it's for people who want to get into entrepreneurship or who are already there and just want to become even more successful entrepreneurs on that. So it's really for both the aspiring entrepreneur and then the seasoned entrepreneur as well, and to become what they want to become, and to really to find time to do what they want to do when they want to do it and have the money for it.
Control. Get control back in your life. A lot of times people start businesses. I'm guilty of it. And we become employees of our businesses.
One thing I stress is that unless you're looking to buy yourself a job, make certain that you work on the business, not in the business, and that business does not revolve around you for just exactly what you just said. You don't want to be the employee of the business. You got into it. What's your why? Why did you get into entrepreneurship in the first place? As you said, Glenn, more control. So if you want that control, make certain that you're not the one that business revolves around. That way you can step back, do whatever you want, whenever you want. And then if your exit plan includes selling that business, it's going to be a whole lot simpler to sell that business if that business doesn't revolve around you.
Yes. Talking about that, Greg, people get emotionally attached, which is normal. I mean, it's your business, you grow it, it's your ideas, your efforts. But when it comes to exit, do you see the business owners get too emotionally attached and they might lose a big exit?
They do, Glenn. They do quite a bit. Because there's quite a few franchise resales that come up, and this probably goes for any type of business, franchise or privately owned business, is that it's their baby. They grew it up. They think it's worth a whole lot of money. So there's what it's worth to you, and then there's what it's worth to the buyer.
Yeah.
So if you got an exit plan, you're really going to have to take a close look and probably do some research on what businesses are selling for. So in general, the franchises that I've sold, the resale type ones, they've generally gone for about 3 times net plus, any equipment on that. A lot of times people think they're worth a whole lot more. They'll say, well, this is going to grow this much in the next few years. Well, people buy existing businesses on past performance, not future performance. So it's a real challenge sometimes with the sellers to say this is, you've really got to put it down into what has your business done? This is what it's worth. Yep. And if you want to sell it, this is what you're going to probably get for it at the most on that. And everybody's going to try and negotiate you down lower, and you're going to try and negotiate higher. So just keep an open mind, make sure you've got good negotiations, but don't get away from that. It's my baby a feeling. It's a business. You've made money at it. Now you want to make a little bit more. So just keep that mindset and keep open mind. And you're probably not going to get what you want for it, but you can still get a good price.
Is it a possibility with your experience that you get to exit and keep a small percentage of the business, like almost like a royalty type of deal? Is that even a possibility?
It's been done, and there's a few of the franchise businesses that I've sold where the owner itself said, "I will stay around for a set amount of time or a set amount of money to help you transition into the business itself." And that's always a good if you're a buyer, that's always a good negotiation point, or seller, that is. But if you're a buyer, that's a good negotiation point, is to try and get that person that owns that business, if they still have time and they don't just want to completely walk away from it because it is their baby, is that, well, just how much can I pay you on a regular basis to be my consultant in there, to work on a part-time basis, my mentor, as we discussed earlier, Glenn, on that when you mentioned that, and give them something for that, an equity share or what have you. But it has been done. I've seen it done, and quite often when they're selling it, they will say, I'll stay around for 6 months for $10 a month or whatever it is, and train you on everything you need to know and make certain it's a good transition, because generally, quite often people built that up. They feel really good about it. They've got a client base that they're really, attached to, and they know them personally. So they want to make certain it's a good transition.
It's smart. That's actually smart. Very smart, because it's a whole different scenario that you buy and leave, and then your customers are dealing with somebody else automatically. Then just actually introduce them into the process. Hey, listen, we sold the company. This is a new management. They're taking over. Here's a new owner. It might make it more seamless, right? More easier. to do it that way.
Absolutely, Glenn.
Every entrepreneur journey has its challenges for some reason. It's just has the challenges. Can you share some of the most significant obstacles that you faced and the lessons that you learned from them?
Oh yeah, Glenn, that's actually a pretty easy one. When you go from so corporate world for me for 30 years. So you go into the office every day, okay? You've got a ton of things to do. They all, there's always things to do when you're in the corporate world. They give you all these things to do. So you're busy, 9 to 5, 7 to 5, whatever you work. Now you step out of that. For me, what I did was when I invested in my franchise, I didn't want any employees. I've dealt employees before, didn't want any. So I wanted to do it all myself. So I step away, and now I'm working from home, and I'm going out, and I did a Schooley Mitchell telecommunications consulting franchise. Mm-hmm. So it was all me. So now you're at home, you're sitting there, and you've got distractions that you've never had before. On that, you've got the whole home life that's going on. The dogs need to go for a walk. The dogs need to be played with. Oh, yeah, I got to wash the outside of the house. Got to go mow the lawn. So I was, after, a couple months of doing the at-home thing, working from home, I started looking at and seeing what I had accomplished. So I'd check it at lunchtime, and I'd start seeing what I accomplished. It's like, hey, look, you worked on your business for about, half an hour, and it's noon now. It's like, okay, something's got to change. Yep. So when you go into business and you become an entrepreneur for yourself, the first thing to do is the time management thing. You've got to set a certain schedule. So if one of them is marketing, then set aside, I'm going to do from 9 to 10, I'm going to do marketing, or whatever time, 10 to 11, I'm going to make phone calls to prospective clients. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to take a client out to lunch on that. But get that schedule going so that, and then have key indices as well. So if you're going to make phone calls between 10 and 11, don't just put down, I'm going to make phone calls. Put down, I am going to make 10 phone calls on there, and then follow that plan. So that's what I really had to do. And that was really the biggest challenge is, even though with a franchise system, you're never wondering what to do next. Because Dennis Schooley here around, he's got the whole list of things to do. You're never wondering what to do next, but it's still up to you to do it because you're the one that's doing it. So I just took his plan and just broke that down into segments of the day. Keep in mind, you're an entrepreneur. You want to have control of your life. So if part of your day means that you're going to go pick up the kids from school, you're going to go to their soccer practice, then schedule that in. Because that's why we're entrepreneurs, so we have control over what we do. Don't necessarily work on your business all day long. So that's what I had to do, is schedule those times in, put them in, key indices. I'm going to make 10 phone calls. I'm going to go stop by, 5 businesses throughout the day, shake hands, talk with them, bring them donuts, whatever it is. But have that schedule, have those goals all lined out. That way, it's just like clockwork every day, and it's nice and smooth.
I love that. How important, you mentioned goals, structure, have a framework in place. How important is to really have like goals and targets within your journey, Greg? Because, from being an employee to Taco Bell, growing into management, helping Kathy manage 50 stores, like how important is to have goals and targets on a daily basis?
We always had. It's just vitally important. We've in any of the restaurants. So I worked in a couple of different restaurants, and we always had goals on there, and targets. So what we look for in the restaurant industry, what we look for, of course, is the amount of money per client that people spent, their ticket average on that one. So we were always looking to increase that ticket average. So we would make certain that our employees that said every time, would you care for dessert? We have these 5 lovely desserts that you can choose from if you care for a dessert on that. So they're not pushing it or anything like that, but they're offering it. So we made certain that everybody offered it. And what we'd really like to shoot for is, like every, 6 customers, 2 of them would get a dessert. Yes. So we'd write those things down. That would be their goal, to try and help and try and upsell different things. You want a hamburger, fine. You want cheese and bacon on it. That's an upsell, something like that. People don't always think about it. They just want to buy a hamburger, and then, you say you want cheese and bacon. Oh yeah, that would be really cool. Yeah. So you're really helping the people. You're not forcing them to get anything they don't want. You're just helping them make their experience with you a little more fun and getting them exactly what they need. So always have those goals. And for us in the restaurant industry, it was the ticket items, it was the ticket sales, and then there was upselling, a beverage, a dessert, something on the side on that. But always write them down. How many are you going to do each day? You ask every customer, and let's see if you can't get to 2 desserts per 5 customers every day. or a beverage for every customer every day.
Yeah,
Write down the numbers and have everybody live down. It's fun. It's a lot of fun for
it
them.
is.
Challenge for them. They're like, all right, that's a good challenge. Let's go out and do that. It just make it fun and make it a good time.
It is because I have noticed within sales, and I know you know this. Somebody's coming for a hamburger. They order a meal. That's the first sale, right? They came here for that. Now the easiest sale is the second sale, and that's what you're talking about. Hey, will you like a sundae, or will you like a bacon and extra cheese on it, right? But if we don't train our team to do those upsells, you're missing out in a lot of value and a lot of money. So would it be fair to say that training will come in place in order to have your team trained in order to do that on a daily basis?
Well, that's the funnest part about it, Glenn, is the training part. So we'd have our employee meetings in there, and then we do some role playing, with the customers. If some of our employees hadn't done that before, they're a little uncomfortable doing that. Yep. We just go through a little role playing thing with them as well, and then want to be a waiter or waitress, and then want to be the customer, and then we just go walk through it. This is how you do it, and make it fun, make it exciting for them, but always keep them trained. Always do training as much as possible, training meetings, and then just go through that role playing thing. Depending on what kind of business you're in, it's a wonderful thing to do. It helps out morale quite a bit.
I love that, Greg. If you can go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice or recommendation when you first started in franchising, what would that be? And why?
So when I first started in franchising, I was about 16, and I would have said to my younger self when I was working at Taco Bell to move up further within the Taco Bell franchise. Don't go to the corporate world. Avoid that altogether. Work towards either buying a Taco Bell of your own or any particular franchise of your own, but go into entrepreneurship earlier. I could have taken better control of my life 30 years earlier if I had done that. Rather than working for somebody else and helping make their dreams come true.
We talked about Taco Bell multiple times. I know that you might have this data. These days, 2024, what would be the cost to get into business? Because, Taco Bell has been around forever. I doubt it that they'll get out of business because their plan and their prices are like so doable. I don't want to say affordable. They're so doable, right? What will be the price these days, Greg, if I want to get into a franchise of Taco Bell?
Glenn, you're talking about brick and mortar franchises. There's two different types of franchises out there, brick and mortar and service industry. So all we talked about was a brick and mortar. If you want to get into something like a Taco Bell or McDonald's, you're probably looking at something where in the vicinity of $1 million. Most of those bigger franchises really want you to buy more than one territory as well, and they want you to have experience as a multi-unit owner. Most of them do. That's a big challenge. Our brick and mortar franchises start at about probably they start less than that, average about a $500,000 total investment on that. Many of them you can do semi-absentee, so you don't have to do it full-time. I think some of them may want you to do it full-time, especially like McDonald's or the bigger ones or Chick-fil-A. The service industry is one where it's more for the average person, average Joe. Actually, it's for everybody, but much more of the average Joe or Josephine can get into it. Because we're looking at around $150,000 total investment for a service industry. So think about, home improvement services, senior care, tutoring, pet services. And you can make pretty much the same amount of money that you'd make with a brick and mortar. And in some cases in the service industry, you'll probably make more than you do on a brick and mortar because you don't have the expenses and the overhead. Small office, work from home, something like what you do, Glenn, is the business development or what I did with the School of Mitchell Telecommunications Consulting, where you don't have to have that set cost, the fixed cost, because you don't have a building that you have to be into. But there's many things in the service industry, essential services especially, that are a really good investment opportunity. Basically, all you need is write $20,000 down, probably, not probably, but a good credit score, $20,000 down, and you can get an SBA Express loan for around $150,000, $200,000.
Wow.
On that. And it's just, some of them are just outstanding businesses, plumbing, electrical services, restoration, heating and air conditioning, senior care. Those are just astronomical businesses that you can get into.
Wow. So good credit, $20,000, the right mindset, get the loan, and literally take over a business that is already operating.
Well, no, that'd be for a new one. If we want to buy a resale franchise, that will depend on how much they're making. And if they are making a good net, it'll be 3 times net. So for a good one of those that's making 100,000 net, you're going to be looking at around a $300,000 price tag plus any equipment. But for a new franchise, not necessarily new as in they're just came on and they're emerging, there's quite a few brands that have 100, 200 or more franchisees. That's only about 5% of the franchises get to in the United States, but they just don't have anybody that they found in your territory yet that they want to open up. So you still got that playbook. You've got plenty of franchisees to call upon. You've seen that they've reproduced it, 100, 200, 300 times in different cities and states, really reducing that risk quite a bit. They just haven't found that perfect person in your area. You just may be them.
Wow, that's amazing. Greg, if you don't mind me asking, can you share a particular memorable success story from one of your past customers or within yourself that you have helped them through Franchise Maven?
Yeah. Let's see. I had a gentleman that got into, it's interesting because some of these franchises want you to do it full time. When you come in and some of them say, they have semi-absentee models that you can do as well. He got into the senior care business and they required it full time. But after about 2 years, he came back to me and he said, well, I got this business running like clockwork now. I got plenty of free time. I got a manager running it. What you can do, any franchise you can do after you built it up, as long as it's running fine, you can have a manager run it, even if they require you. Not any of them, but most of them, even if they require full time, as long as it's running smooth, you're good to go. And he had it running smooth. He's like, I need something else to do. Let's go find me another franchise. Like,
that's awesome.
Right on, dude. I had another one that got into a kitchen remodeling franchise. And he came back to me after 3 years and he said, okay, I'm all done, built that one up, got it to where I want to be. Let's get it sold and let's get me into something else as well. It's always nice to hear those stories. And then another couple, it was pretty funny. They were real estate investors, Trish and Ben, and they wanted to get into a brewery on that. They came to me to get
brewery?
A brewery, yeah. So there are some brewery franchises out there, just sit down and because they enjoyed going to them, but they're real estate investors as well, and they wanted to do it semi-absentee. Mm-hmm. So, they're both lots of good questions, great interactive. Trish kind of in the background a little bit, but still lots of great questions out there. She ran the real estate business side of it. So they're going to run it semi-absentee, but at the very end, Trish just kind of pops up and says, we're not going to run that semi-absentee. After learning about this business, I can do that myself.
Wow.
So I will run it. And here we are almost a year later, and she's Rookie of the Year over in her franchise after doing that. So it's really great to hear those stories of people that I've helped and been successful. Really makes me feel good about helping folks.
I know. It's a great feeling when you're able to help someone and they get successful. It's almost like your biggest commission.
It is. Very true, Glenn.
It really is. It really fulfills me. It's a great feeling, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Greg, we get into the final, like towards the end of the podcast. If anybody out there are interested in meeting you, setting up a call, finding out more like any type of franchises that they want to get in, how can they get in contact with you?
Thank you, Glenn. They can go to my website at franchisemaven.com. That's franchise, M-A-V as in Victor, E-N.com. Email me at greg@franchisemaven.com or just pick up the phone and give me a call at 361-772-6401.
Let's go. That's been awesome. My last question, Greg, it just came to my mind. Would you recommend someone start a business from scratch or buying a franchise that he already has a brand behind it?
I would recommend that they look at both and weigh out their options and to see which one is best for them. Franchising is not necessarily for everybody. You still have to pay for it. The franchise is going to get you to where you want to be 2 to 3 years quicker than if you do it yourself. That is why you buy into it and you pay that franchise fee and you pay those royalties. But you may not want to do that. You may have the energy to go out and figure out everything yourself and do it yourself and have complete control over it yourself. But franchising is a good option. It really will get you to where you want to be quicker than if you do it yourself with a whole team of people behind you. Not only the franchise, but the other franchisees generally don't compete with each other. So everybody's helping to build up that business. So if you like a team behind you, you like a lot of support, franchising is definitely an option to look into.
That's amazing. Greg, thank you so much for your knowledge, time, expertise. I know that this is being valuable for me. I know that it's going to be valuable for everybody that listens to this. Greg, I like to end every single podcast with a quote. Would that be okay with you?
Yes, sir.
From page 9 to 85, you pick a number.
72.
That's a good one. Here we go. For anybody out there that they don't trust themselves, this is for you. I never trusted my talent, so I outworked everyone.
There you go.
I never trusted my talent, so I outworked everyone. Greg, again, thank you so much. Wishing you the best of success, health, wealth. Thank you for your time. Anybody out there that wants to learn more about becoming a franchisee or starting a business within Greg, do not hesitate to reach out. And please do not forget to continue becoming the best version of yourself every single day. Greg, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Glenn.